Since it is September 25th, 2025. September 25th, 2025. I'm going to look, I'm going to make this one more very important entry in my journal. But I earlier came home and made a journal entry for September 25th, 2025. And it was about sport. And I'm still thinking about sport. And I did, it quit raining, and I did start finishing the build of my billboard for my climbing wall. For on one side, like it's a two-sided coin. It gives me a little bit better motivation. And on the one side, I'm going to have my climbing wall. On the other side, I'm going to have my notification. And my notification, after I come home from taking sport, and Mr. T went with me, but he stayed in the car. And I went into the vet with with Sport, and they took an x-ray of him, seeing that he got shot. And his spleen was swollen, and that's why he's not eating. And this is after the advent of Charlie Kirk's killing. And everything that means. Because I tell you what, right now, what I've seen upon the examination of the site, look, man, they got video footage of them taking down a hologram projector. And they said that that box that Charlie Kirk was under, it had mirrors and stuff, and it was hologram projection. So now, and they said there was a trap door, and they didn't even rope the place off like they do in a crime scene, Look, I've been in more than one places where there's been something where the cops or the sheriffs were involved, and they taped the place off immediately. Look, there's a lot of stuff going on in society that pushes me to my limits. And my limits in my ability to make sense. And it's always pushing me to new boundaries of what this could all mean. And lately I've been thinking more and more that from a lot of different angles and a lot of different ways of speaking, the general consensus kind of comes through. All right, this is a simulation of some type. We're in it together. All right, we are in it together. And in this simulation, man, people are put at odds with each other, and sometimes they're put at odds with each other because of lies. And then you get whole groups of people that believe lies. They're like regular good people and everything. But it's just like in Bob Dylan's song, that one song about some guy's name. I don't remember what his name was now. But it was a song where, after he came back from the war all mangled and stuff, he dropped his medals into his mom's hand. It was so proud of him going to war defending the country. And he said, the thing that troubled me the most was when I looked into the other person's eyes. They looked just like mine. because, and when you come down to think about it, it's because they were here. Well, sometimes it's hard to figure stuff out, Like, what does that mean? Because, like, you are God, and God is in everybody? I mean, what does that even mean? Well, that's why in my beginning of my talks, I talked about the I and the thou. I guess, I don't know if I did that by mistake or just because where I was at a point of my decision to start a journal or what it was. But look, I don't know. But all things being considered, I mean, look, I know what it is to have to protect your life right? From people that don't understand. And it happens. And it happens over and over and over. So, I'm thinking, like, what is trying to be examined here? Like, what kind of point is trying to be made here? Because there's some kind of point that's being made. Well, I don't know what it is, but I went out to put up my sign to finish working on my billboard for my climbing wall on one side and my billboard on the other. And look, I had to find some screws because I got to put on a 2x4x12 going across the bottom so I can put my first sheet of plywood on, make it level, and then take and make a corner, a corner piece, and make everything square off of that corner piece as best I can, with the understanding that I can make adjustments. But look, man. Alright. I don't know, these are about 4 inches. That's about what I need. I just got to mount a 2x4 to my 4x4s in diameter. Mount my 2x4 to my 4x4. And this is what I got to use. I had to go look for them. I knew I had some, but I had to look for them in the shambles. Because I've been through a lot, man. And at different times, I either pack my stuff up and prepare for war. I'm serious. You think I'm joking? I'm not. But look, in the shambles, all right, I find stuff. I find resources that I buried from long ago. I knew I had them. That's why Putin, I kind of like Putin. You gotta be Putin and been in office for a long time. And when he draws on history, he goes all the way back to like the 1500 something or other. Like we're 1,000 years ago. I don't know if he goes back that far. We're in 2000, so 2025. So, no, I think he does actually go back like 500 years. Seriously. That's good. I think that's good. No, you want to get down to the bottom of the matter, hold your ground. All right, look, man. Out of the shambles, man, I got stuff that I need, but I also found these. But I mean, sometimes I don't know wonder why stuff is just like out. Like, I have no idea. But I looked at it. Look, this is to my son's, my youngest boy's mom that I wrote. Look. What caught my attention though is, look, on this one right here, You wrote. You wrote once. I was appealing to her. And this, I don't know what followed this. That's just all I found. I found this. All right, look. You know what? If you have advanced magnification. I gotta tell you the truth. I don't even know what I said. But you know why? You know what? Because I'm honest. I don't care what I said. Because I know I said it from an honest point, alright? And that can be verified. Or whatever. I mean, look, in the eternal judgment, reckoning of things, it's not the bullshit that's going to matter. It's the stuff that's really on point and honest that's going to matter. And that's what I'm saying. And right now, after Sport got shot, after I realized I got a verification from the vet that he got shot with a pellet gun, and because he seems to me like he's dying, because his spleen is swollen, and he's not eating, and now he's afraid of thunder, and he's afraid of the rain. He just knows when something's coming. Whether it be thunder or rain, I don't know, whatever trauma he experienced in that time of his life. And it's a message to me. And the stance that I take is that I ever found out who pulled the trigger on him. Jesus Christ, man, you had no idea how I would descend upon them in the secret of night and rip their goddamn head right off their shoulders. I cut it off. And then I take their head and I kick it with my foot. After I eradicated their goddamn entire family. You know, just so you know, I got a little pathos about my living in this world, you know? If somebody's gonna shoot my dog with a pellet gun, that means I'm gonna have to rip their goddamn head right off their shoulders and kick it with my foot and eradicate their whole entire goddamn family. But, you know, I always wasn't like this. You know, there was a time in my life, you know, that was a little more easygoing and understood that, you know, there was a tomorrow. But, oh, at this age of my life, man, much I really gotta give a fuck for. But, you know, that being said, because this actually journal entry is actually something kind of special. Because, look, it could be my imagination, but I realize, you know, the government got their fingers in every little thing, man. Because they got that much control, right? My router going like crazy because I said either to my buddy, one of my friends, you know, tell me, I sent him a message about my billboard and so forth, you know. Or maybe the post that I just did, you know. Look, you say a few triggered words, man. They got you. But could be in my imagination, but I have been advised by the primary sources. I only listen to primary sources. But anyway, look, the primary sources, all right? The primary source that I'm talking about right now is really not the government or anything like that. I got no, look, I do have some anger about Sport getting shot with a pellet gun, and he's probably dying now. And because I've already got history of my dogs getting killed by people, which I don't even actually can't prove who they are, but I got good suspicion. And it's not beyond me to put a sign in my front yard telling them that even though I don't actually have proof of who they are, telling them that I know who they are, and that in the secret of the night, I'm going to be coming after them. You know, you can take like a guitar string or anything like that, you know, and put it around their neck, you know. It's got a little eye on it. Yank that sucker, man. Pull that thing in hard. Ah! Pull it in so hard, pretty soon, man, and down to the bone. And take their head and start kicking it in defiance. And put their DNA down into the ground. I'm just saying, you know. Like, I don't even watch scary movies or anything. And I can imagine that. It's not even hard for me to imagine that kind of retribution. And if that's me, and I'm basically actually been born, you know, trying to like give people the benefit of the doubt and stuff. Like, I always believed that humanity was basically good, but they got fucked up, you know, through time. But I don't necessarily believe that anymore. I don't know. Now it doesn't really even matter to me. You know, but look, it's 16, 17 minutes now. I don't know what I'm going to say here. I don't know what I said in these, all right? But you know what? I have confidence that because I just happened to come across these while I was looking for the screws for my billboard, and because I did look at it and it says, "You once wrote." And then I thought this was kind of pretty eloquent, you know. This is my son Isaac's mom, you know. She wrote this. Like, I can probably see without glasses, but I mean, it's always kind of blurry, but I can still make it out. But do you ever wonder what the purpose is? Or even sometimes what the meaning is? Why there is so much pain and seemingly no gain? When something goes sour almost every hour. When the days get longer, less tolerable, and more trying. When there are fewer smiles, less happiness. She wrote that. Dear Karen, I reminded her what she said. You know, I'm just thinking, like I can't read this. I don't even know what's on it. I wouldn't want to divulge anything. It would be unseemly. But I don't think that's unseemly, and that's what she said. But not really my intention to go into a bunch of old bullshit, but that regard right there, you know, even though I'm going to tell you, all right, just for the record, right? Like, you my grandchildren, like, I don't know who's going to be coming from Isaac. Okay, but Isaac's mom, Karen, was ruthless. Alright, she was ruthless. As far as I'm concerned, to me. But, you know, it is what it is. I still speak kindly ever because I'm not going to curse the situation. So look, after all, my mom and my dad, they never lived together. And somehow, I feel that, they did come together at one time when they made me. And I came together with Karen when Isaac was made, and if you're my grandchild and you're from Isaac, well then, that's it. That's what the deal is. I don't know what it all means. Well, look, I'm just saying that's what she said. That's what Karen wrote one time. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it. I said, I wish we could have entered into each other's pain. Like, man, whatever it was, whatever it is. It's hard to figure out, but, whatever it is, man. In the shambles. I found some 3.5 or probably 4-inch 4-inch lags to begin the construction of putting plywood on my billboard. And I'm thinking about sport. I'm thinking about telling anybody who goes down my road, look, my dog got shot with a pellet gun. I might tell him. And I know who it was that shot him. So this is a public notice that before I die, I want to come after you. I'm going to kill you. And I'm going to eradicate your whole goddamn family for what you did to my dog. And look, man, that's how people feel. When I said last time, stand with your dogs. Look, you got to make sure, if you do have dogs, you got to make, your dog's got instinct, for one thing. It's a different kind of scenario. If you're talking metaphorically speaking, stand with your dogs, well, your dogs, might be the people that are really messing things up, all right? Well, you gotta change your dogs, all right? But the thing is, look, man, this life that we've been given, you gotta stand with your dogs. I mean, try to improve everybody around you, but you gotta stand with your dogs. In the end, God will have mercy. It wasn't your simulation to begin with. You're just a pawn in the game. See, that's why like I get a lot of my inner messaging, from Bob Dylan. Because Bob Dylan had a song, it says, he's only a pawn in the game, okay? All right, so see, after he said that, I already learned that. I already knew that. Like, I already know, that like I'm just a pawn in the game. That gives me a lot of liberation and a lot of freedom and the actual realization that I don't have to be, condemned with guilt because of the things that I have been pressed into where I might have not made the exact right choice and then maybe somebody got hurt because I wasn't perfect. Whatever. Yeah, I'm just going to call this one, you weren't perfect. Okay? Because if God said anything to me, if he said anything to you, and if he's saying anything to other people, he's saying, you weren't perfect. Okay? You weren't perfect. I ain't going to judge you like somebody who was perfect. Even Donald Trump, all the damage that he's done, in Judgment Day, what's God gonna say? It's God's simulation. You're going to say it Donald Trump. Okay, you weren't perfect, but look what you did. Right? You know, that would be the message. You weren't perfect, but look what you did. That's the whole point, you know. You got to figure it out, you know, what you did and what you're going to do. Yeah. I think that's actually a good summation of everything, you know, even though I didn't read these things. Yeah. You weren't perfect, but look what you did. It may be a positive way or a negative way. But in either way, it's going to help you to understand humiliation and empathy and so forth like that. Maybe make whatever it is, you know, better. All right, bye.